July 6, 1926. Bayonne, France. 3 in the morning. The sky has split open. Torrential rain. Freezing wind pouring off the Pyrenees. And under that storm, 76 men are about to do something that today would be considered medical malpractice. They are going to mount steel bicycles weighing close to 35 pounds, with only 2 usable gears, and ride 326 kilometers over 4 mountain passes. Through the night, alone. The winner that day, a Belgian domestique named Lucien Bijs, will cross the finish line after 17 hours and 12 minutes on the bike. By the time the last rider limps in, it will be 3 in the morning of the following day. 22 men will abandon. Some will arrive with fingers so frozen they cannot hold a pen to sign the control sheet. One of them, Karel van Slembroek, will tell the officials, "Even for $1 million, I would not do today's work again." $1 million francs. In 1926 money. So here is the question. If we took the most dominant cyclist today, Tadej Pogačar, 4-time Tour winner, with an aerobic engine estimated north of 90 milliliters of oxygen per kilogram per minute, and we dropped him into that storm, on that bike, under those rules, would he survive? I am Sebastian. This is the injury breakdown, and the answer is more brutal than you think. To understand what we are really asking, you have to understand what the 1926 Tour de France actually was. Statistically, it is the cruelest edition ever run. 5,745 kilometers. 17 stages. An average stage length of 338 kilometers. That is roughly 2 full modern stages, back to back, every single day, for 3 weeks. Out of 126 men who lined up at the start, only 41 finished. About 1 in 3. The rest broke. And none of this was an accident. The race director, Henri Desgrange, designed it to break them. He famously said the ideal tour would be one in which only one rider survived the ordeal. He meant it. His rulebook was a survival manifesto. Chacun pour soi. Every man for himself. No outside help. No mechanical assistance. If your bike broke, you fixed it. With your hands. Under the watch of a referee who would penalize you if anyone touched your machine. That single rule has destroyed more careers than every crash in cycling history combined. And in a few minutes, I will tell you about a man who walked 14 kilometers down a mountain carrying his broken bicycle, just to keep his tour alive. But before we get there, you have to picture the bike itself. Today, Pogacar rides a carbon fiber frame at 6.8 kilograms, roughly 15 pounds, electronic shifting, 12 gears. On a steep climb, he drops to a 34/32 ratio that lets him spin his legs at 90 to 100 revolutions per minute. That cadence is everything. It distributes power across thousands of pedal strokes without destroying his knees. Now picture 1926. Steel frame, wooden rims, tubular tires, total weight between 25 and 35 pounds. And the gearing? You had 2 options. 2. A chainring up front, usually 46 teeth, paired with a flip-flop hub at the rear. To shift gears, you stopped the bike, removed the rear wheel, flipped it around, re-threaded the chain, and got back on. Halfway up the Tourmalet. In the rain. Here is what that does physiologically. On an 8% gradient with a 46/20 gear, your cadence collapses to around 40 revolutions per minute. 40. That is not pedaling anymore. That is a weighted single-leg squat every second for hours. When you grind at 40 revolutions per minute under load, you stop recruiting slow twitch fibers and slam straight into fast twitch, type 2 recruitment. Lactate climbs. A modern climber's biomechanics are built for high cadence and low torque. Invert that ratio, and within a week you are looking at acute patellar tendinopathy, quadriceps strain, and lumbar fatigue. And we have not even talked about nutrition yet. The bike alone would break him. And the bike is the easy part. Let us talk fuel. Because what these men ate is, frankly, insane. Modern tour riders are fueled like Formula One cars. Pro cyclists burn around 6,000 kilocalories a day, peaking near 9,000 on the hardest stages. To replace that, they consume engineered carbohydrate mixes, delivering 90 to 120 grams of carbohydrate per hour. Their guts are trained, literally trained, to absorb that much sugar without rebellion. The 1926 riders, their fuel was bread, cheese, cold meat, rice pudding, raw eggs, coffee, champagne, and wine. Lots and lots of wine. Maurice Guérin, an early Tour winner, reportedly consumed, over a single 24-hour race, 45 cutlets, 19 liters of hot chocolate, 8 eggs, 7 liters of tea, 2 kilograms of rice, and in his own words, lots of strong red wine. Read that one more time. 19 liters of hot chocolate. In one day. This was not fueling. This was binge survival eating. And the consequences are catastrophic. Alcohol impairs glycogen resynthesis. It dehydrates you. It disrupts sleep. It tanks coordination and judgment. Henri Pellissier, the 1923 Tour winner, described his fellow riders with brutal clarity. Their bodies, he said, were drained by diarrhea. They twitched in bed at night like St. Vitus's dance. Their toenails fell off, a little bit at a time. That is not metaphor. That is textbook chronic stimulant abuse layered on top of severe overtraining. So ask yourself this: if the food was killing them, why did they eat it? Because the alternative was to stop. And stopping for these men was worse than dying. Now wait until you hear what they put in their bodies to keep going. In 1924, the French reporter Albert Londres tracked down Henri Pellissier and his brother Francis after they abandoned the Tour in protest. They were sitting in a café in Coutances, hunched over hot chocolate, shivering. Londres asked them how they survived. Henri opened his bag and started pulling things out, laying them on the table. That, he said, is cocaine, for our eyes. Cocaine drops dilated the pupils for night riding and numbed eye fatigue. This is chloroform, for our gums, to dull jaw pain from clenching for hours. He kept going. Strychnine in microdoses. Yes, the rat poison. A central nervous system stimulant to override exhaustion. Ether for pain. Nitroglycerin tablets, originally developed for angina patients, to ease the chest tightness of altitude. Then Francis Pellissier said the line, the one that defined an era. The truth is, we ride on dynamite. The article was titled Les Forçats de la Route. The convicts of the road. It changed cycling forever. But here is the point most people miss. These men were not doping to win. They were doping to finish. The strychnine was not an unfair advantage. It was the only thing keeping their nervous systems from shutting down completely. In 1926, drugs were not cheating. Drugs were the only reason the race could happen at all. So let us answer the question. Modern cyclist. 1926. Tour. Survival probability? Here is what the modern rider has on his side. VO2 max values of 85 to 95 milliliters per kilogram per minute, compared to an estimated 70 to 75 a century ago. Structured training, scientific nutrition, real medical care. And here's the part we need to be honest about. Modern sports science does not just keep riders comfortable. It pushes the human body to performance levels the 1920s champions could not have dreamed of. Average tour speeds today are over 40 kilometers per hour. Climbs that took 2 hours back then are now done in under 40. The modern athlete is not soft. He is optimized. But that is on modern terms. The real experiment is different. Drop Pogačar into 18-hour stages. on a 30-pound bike, on dirt roads, fueled on wine and bread, sleeping 3 hours a night. And here is what breaks first. By week 1, acute patellar tendinopathy from low-cadence grinding, handlebar palsy from ulnar nerve compression, pudendal nerve damage from vibration. All documented overuse syndromes in modern cyclists on modern bikes, doing half the work. Then sleep deprivation. Staying awake 17 hours degrades reaction time as much as a blood alcohol level of 0.05%. 24 hours, you are legally drunk. The 1926 riders lived in that zone for weeks. A modern athlete, hyper-specialized for 4 to 6 hour efforts, would not adapt. And here is the cruelest detail. Modern professional cyclists, because they never run, never jump, never load their skeletons through impact, have measurably lower bone mineral density than the general population. Up to 63% show osteopenia. Drop that fragile-boned rider onto a wet, unpaved descent with iron rim brakes that barely work. The question is not whether he crashes. It is how many bones he breaks when he does. So the honest answer. Could Pogacar pedal 326 kilometers in a day? Probably. Could he do it 17 days in a row? On that bike? On that little sleep? And not break? Almost certainly not. The 1920s riders were not athletes in the modern sense. They were a different kind of organism. Mechanically self-sufficient, metabolically toughened, pharmacologically buffered, and forged for a kind of suffering we have specifically engineered out of sport. I want to leave you with one story. July 9, 1913. The Tour is climbing the Pyrenees. The French favorite, Eugene Christophe, is in the lead. He attacks on the Tourmalet, opens a gap, and starts the descent on his way to almost certain victory. Then a following car clips his front wheel. His steel fork snaps clean off the frame. Under Desgrange's rule, no outside help, he has two choices: quit or fix it himself. He shoulders the broken bicycle. He walks down the mountain on foot for an estimated 14 kilometers until he reaches a village called Sainte-Marie-de-Campan. In that village, he finds a blacksmith's forge, and under the watchful eye of a race official who is legally required to make sure no one helps him, Eugene Christophe spends nearly 4 hours forging a new fork with his own hands. A small boy in the village offered to work the bellows, to pump the air that fed the fire. Because a child helped him with the bellows, the officials added a 3-minute penalty. 3 minutes for a child with a bellows. Christophe finished that fork, got back on the bike, rode over 2 more mountain passes, and finished the stage having lost almost 4 hours. 6 years later, in 1919, he became the first man to ever wear the yellow jersey. He was leading the Tour again. And on the second-to-last stage, his fork broke a second time. He walked to another forge. He fixed it again. And he lost the Tour again. That, my friends, is what cycling used to be. A modern rider, no matter how gifted, would not last a week in 1926. But that does not make the heroic era superior. It makes them a different kind of organism, built for a different kind of war. The modern rider, freed from those conditions, can do things they never dreamed of. Which leaves me with a question I cannot stop asking. What is Tadej Pogačar actually capable of, beyond the bike? What if the 4-time Tour winner, with 12 monument victories and an estimated VO2 max of 96, stepped off the bike tomorrow and ran a marathon? Would he break the world record? Would he even finish clean? In my next video, I break down the full physiological case, the engine he carries, the brutal science of running economy, what happens when elite cyclists try to run, and 3 data-driven time predictions that will change how you think about athletic greatness. The link is on screen. I am Sebastian from the Injury Breakdown. I will see you there.